Hello, Little Mixed Doom, and welcome to your deck review. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate you on tricking me. Guys, I said on a stream maybe 2 weeks ago before I left for Amsterdam, hey, if you pay for the on-demand deck roast, send me anything resembling a deck and I'll review it. And Little Mixed Doom said in chat, really? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And that chicken has come home to roost. So they have sent in a custom precon. Now, not every card in this deck is custom, but it is a custom Deltarune precon. So we've got a lot of custom cards, and I'm going to honor what I said because as a wannabe trickster, I will always honor when you can fuck me with my own wording, but I am going to draw some boxes around your request to set a precedent for the future. I will still do this, but what I'm not going to do, because we have, I think I counted 18 custom cards, not including the commander, I am not going to try to assess whether these could be printed into Magic the Gathering as a whole. I am going to assess whether this pre-con works as a pre-con, because that was the wording of your request, you clever little rat. Um, and so if they might break with something that's not in the deck, if they might break with something that would be like, oh, if you ran this with a different commander and then put this in the 99, then it would be way too much. I'm not going to worry about doing that. I'm going to worry about you've made this precon presumably to play with your friends or give to your friends. Could you hand this to a person and have it play reasonable Magic? Without further ado, this is Esper, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. We have Noel, Ice Transfer, and we're going to all read the card together. They're an Esper 2/4. If a tapped creature would die, exile it instead. Whenever one or more creatures are put into exile from the battlefield, they get a counter, and then you scry one. And then whenever Noel becomes blocked by one or more creatures, tap those creatures and put a stun counter on them. So we have a little bit of desire to go Voltron. We get a little bit of pseudo card advantage, and then we kind of have a hate piece all rolled into one. These are all like, that's a lot to balance. That's what I'll say for now. First things first, we have a lot of ramp, I think, right? We have, or I guess some of these are just tap down pieces, but I think normally when I see precons, I think of the worst ramp situation possible, which is you have 3 to 5 pieces of 2 mana ramp. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So for a precon, this is actually the first place I'm going to say no, wrong. That ramp situation is too good for a precon. With precons, typically you want to have more like clunky 2 to 4 drops that kind of do something for what your commander is doing. Like I would want to see more things. Like half of these rocks should be, oh, I care about scrying. I care about something else getting a +1/+1 counter on it. We can't do a lot of +1/+1 counter synergies because Noelle only puts counters on herself. Um, but like or like synergies for things being tapped, like borrowing 10,000 arrows. Maybe Hilda of the Icy Crown would probably fit in here, although I think that needs you to purposely tap something. Either way, I would expect more things like um Icebind Pillar, Icy Manipulator, and Hilda's Crown of Winter. Not necessarily that these all have to be artifacts, but the strongest thing you can do in Magic is get enough mana to cast your big game winning spells and then go cast them. And I think for a precon, we're doing that too quickly, and we want to have more fun little diversions along the way that play into the synergy of what we're trying to do. And so I can go back and look at maybe what some tap synergies are that I can suggest for you, but I think this right here is too good to begin with. A backup commander, Carol Holiday, on ETB. You steal an artifact or non-legendary creature for as long as you control her, and it becomes a snow permanent. Whenever a non-land, non-snow permanent becomes tapped, put a stun counter on it. Okay, so we are doing Xanax Gaming. That worries me a little bit for a precon. It does kind of make sense if I see a lot of tapped synergies later, though, so I will try to hold my more aggressive commentary until then. Yeah, Vestige smacks, Codecracker Hound smacks. We like Warp because we care about things being put into exile from the battlefield. Very, very cute. And then into the custom cards. So we have a clone spell, sure. We have a secret Secret Rendezvous, but I can also make you discard. That is really evil. I'm gonna hold back on whether these cards can exist in Magic or not. I for just power. What rarity is Secret Rendezvous? Hold on. No, no. I'm already mad. It is a Z. Okay. It's an uncommon. Okay, so this could be like a rare. I don't know, man. I don't. I'm angry. Fine. Friend, Tale of Hell. This for sure has too many words on it. At the moment in time, we are getting the words cut off by the Architect card shower. We have too many things happening, but we skip draw step. When friend enters at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. You lose 1 life for each card exiled this way, and we can play cards exiled with them. Okay, so like a theft draw engine is really disconnected from everything we want to do, right? It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't work with Noel. It doesn't work with Carol Holiday. So I question that. That precons do have that, right? Like the Yishtola precon had that with legendaries. Legendaries matter. Um, let's keep looking. Whenever one or more creatures you don't control leave the battlefield, put a counter on them. Cool. When this creature dies, somebody loses life equal to power you gain that much life. Okay. Hyperlink blocked a delve counterspell with cleave that exiles instead of okay. It's raining somewhere else. We choose an opponent and we get to draw cards equal to the difference in our hands. Sure, I've seen that on a creature for 7 mana. I'm not sure if that's allowable for 4, but we can try. Enchant creature you don't control. Enchanted creature is goaded, and whenever a creature leaves the battlefield, put a counter on this creature. And then for 7, we can steal it later. First time a creature you control dies or is exiled from the battlefield, you draw a card, lose 1 life. Equipped creature gets +5, -2. Holy shit. Um, Creature an opponent controls leaves the battlefield. They mill a card. Beginning of end step, draw a card for each opponent who milled at least 4 cards this turn. Okay, so we're now putting mill on top of this as well. We have another mana rock that for 2 can scry 1, then draw a card if you control a commander. Whenever you cast a commander spell, and we get to bring it back if we cast, that's insane. Okay. Snowgrave. If snow is spent to cast this as split second, kill a creature and make a token copy of it, except it is a snow wall and has defender. I even for a precon, I'm a snowman a hater because there's no like I think snow is only really using snow mana as a way to balance something only really works in a draft environment where you can't just say, okay, everything I have that produces mana produces snow mana. The moment we have like this would come up in custom card streams a lot with certain designers where it would be like, oh, I've put a restriction on this card to make it better. Yeah, well, is it a restriction that we know you're always going to have you're always going to meet the criteria? Don't like we're just you just the card just has split second, right? Like especially in the context of this is a precon. Um, so now it being now maybe it being legendary and 4 mana justifies it having split second and being an exile thing that makes a defender version of the thing. Maybe it should be a 1/1. Maybe it should be a 0/1. I'm gonna try to not go too deep in the weeds on that, but like don't make fake restrictions. Don't make fake restrictions that everybody can just hit. Spamton. One or more creatures you don't control leave the battlefield, make a treasure. This ability triggers only once each turn. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice 3 or more artifacts this turn, make a 2/2 blue egg creature token with when this creature dies, surveil 1. Uh, that feels really powerful, but okay. Task Manager. We can goad something, or we can deal damage equal to her power to a tapped creature. All right, so this is, I think, the first custom card I like outside of your commanders. This is the first thing where it feels like, okay, now we're working with a precon. Everything prior to this, or not every single thing, but nearly every thing prior to this feels like I'm looking at the Y'shtola precon, and that is not a positive thing. The Y'shtola precon, even though it was fine because Y'shtola is strong as fuck, The Chola precon was one of the most like aggressively distracted and incoherent precons in recent memory, and I don't think you ever want to be designing something that's aiming for that. And then we have Anti-Storm is again back. We're back in the Chola zone. Roaring Knight, 5 mana Death Touch lifelink. Whenever they cast a spell, lose 3 life at the beginning of combat. Target a creature an opponent controls. They face a villainous choice. Roaring Knight deals 3 to that creature. You draw 2 cards, and each player loses 1 life. This is a get like this is. I do not doubt this is a good creature to have on board. We are slamming him on board in a precon that cares about tapping creatures, putting them into exile when they are tapped, scrying, and +1/+1 counters. And now we're adding in Spell Hate, we're adding in Villainous Choice. Like, I do think using Villainous Choice to create like your own Phyrexian arena on a really good blocker. Yes, I want to play the card in isolation. We're really, really all over the place. Beginning of end step, put a trance counter on Thorn Ring, and then we're just doing. There's a few things that exist like that. Like Mind Splice apparatus exists, where cost reducing instants and sorceries the counters we have on this thing, and then whenever we cast our first spell, you lose life equal to the number of trance counters on Thorn Ring. Oh, but this hits any first spell we cast and not just an instant or sorcery, so that's why we're losing the life. Okay, I could kind of see this in isolation, but we again have the problem of this is nothing to do with anything either precon commander cares about. It has nothing to do with any of the themes of the deck, but the further and further we go, the less and less I see any themes of the deck. Like the only real theme I see is like it's Esper good stuff, which is I think not what we want out of a precon. I think out of a precon we want to transmit like, especially if it's going to be, this is theoretically a universes beyond precon, we want to transmit something about the character. We want it to feel like you are part of that universe. Like this is going to be low hanging fruit, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles precon, what do? They beat the shit out of you. What do the turtles do in the show? They beat the shit out of people. It works. It's good. In this one, I'm struggling to identify any type of through line. So Titan of the Roaring, Menace Annihilator 2, an end step. We don't know what the cost is. I'm going to assume it's pretty fucking expensive. Um, End step, make X 2/2 Black Horrors, draw X cards, where X is the number of players that sacrificed a permanent this turn. Dog, what? Dog. Dog, we can't, this, come on. I know you're going to trigger it with Annihilator 2, but now we have like, we're on the 13th mechanic we care about. Sacrifice another horror. Titan gains indestructible at the end of turn, tap it. Okay, so you've made a card that is good at feeding itself. And I think that is true of basically every card in here. Yeah, like the compliment I will give you is most of these cards make sense standalone. Most of these cards make sense with respect to the rest of their card. We have like 1 or 2 cards that make sense to me in the context of a precon. On enter attack, target player sacrifices a tapped creature. There we go. There we go. All right. We have some dots connecting. I can rock with this guy a lot. Control magic. We control enchanted creature. This is like sure. I like quiet contemplation way more. Tap target creature an opponent controls and it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. I think this might work better. Ah, yeah, it's just so rough because we're spiraling out in so many different directions, and you have a lot of the so the cards that already exist that you're using as support look like cards that a Hilda deck would like to play. They look like cards that um we want to play if we're tapping opponent's stuff down, but neither of our commanders really care about getting tapped, like stuff getting tapped. They just do it as part of a like I'm an Esper dickhead strategy. And so the through lines I see is caring about counters being put on things, potentially caring about counters being put on permanents you don't control. I think when I've seen those, that has been a green thing, but I may be misremembering. Um, and then like we have this little hate piece. We would really like, we would really like flicker. That would be really good for us. So I could see some type of like flickering creatures that put counters on when they enter, and then we care about counters being put on creatures, or we get a special benefit for counters being put on creatures we don't control. Then, like, then it all begins to make sense to me as a this is the flavor of the precon. But the flavor we have right now is just like Esper, baby. Esper. What does Esper do? I kill you. I take you. I tap you. I kill you. Which is not bad, but I think this deck is too good in all the wrong ways. Um, I like Verity Circle a lot for this. All right, we hating a little. How much removal we got? We have one, two, three, four. I don't understand why we have lapse of certainty, right? We don't care about things being put. Yeah, I would disagree with this one no matter the balance of removal as a whole, because we don't care about things being put somewhere that's not the battlefield. We care specifically about exile. So this should definitely, even if we want to have our counter spells care about that, this should be a counter spell to put something into exile. So anyway, one, two, three, four, five, six, 6.5 because it's bounce. Seven, eight, nine. 9 pieces of single target removal, no board wipes, 3 counter spells on top of that. Well, 2.5 counter spells because Lapse of Certainty is a very soft counter spell, and then a lot of lands. Oh no, we do have one board wipe. And then we have some big card draw spells. Okay. Oh, give that a moment to assimilate all in my head. My gut reaction is I really dislike this as a precon because what I dislike about it is we don't appear to have things that create cute synergy moments, which is a big part of the precons being fun for people, right? Like the Turtles precon, the when I think back to the Final Fantasy precons, I think of like the Titus players who were like, oh, I get to put a counter on this, and this creates another trigger, and then I get to proliferate, and that creates another trigger, or like uh the Terra players who were like, oh, I get to mill these things, and then like I'm gonna play this guy who cares about the creatures I have in my graveyard, and then because I milled it, he's gonna be really big. I'm talking about Siegfried, by the way. We like don't have we have like 2 of those in the whole deck, and then the rest of the deck we are using as a vehicle to or just as a receptacle for all of these custom cards, many of which look cool, many of which have potential I'm probably not giving enough credit to as it stands, but as a precon, this looks like I get a lot of mana, I blow out the first 2 threats, and then I don't have card draw engines. Like I think the number one thing I would want to see out of this deck is some type of like 2 to 4 mana advantage piece that would give me that was more like Verity Circle. More things like Verity Circle, I think, actually, is how can I get these ongoing benefits for putting counters on stuff I don't control, tapping stuff I don't control, uh, having things leave the battlefield. There's like what's your name? You're white. There's like a Fiend Hunter effect in white. All Fate Stalker, right? Like this guy would be really potent for the deck, and I think there should be more things like this, and there should be more things that give you advantage for doing stuff like this. Whereas right now we just have a lot of like standalone standalone hitters that kind of work together, but this is a shitty superhero team up movie. This is not Avengers Endgame. This is what was that one like the Expendables where it's just like a bunch of old, yeah, a bunch of over the hill action stars. That's what this is. And I think even Expendables 1 was like cute enough. This is like Expendables 3 territory, IMO. So I'll throw it in the playtester to see if I'm wrong. But we get some land drops. We get a we get Hilda's Crown, which taps down opponent's stuff. We have two pieces of interaction, but this tap down thing doesn't do anything for us. The interaction we have doesn't do anything for us because our commander cares about putting things into exile. Our commander like can tap stuff but doesn't care about stuff being tapped. So I think this opening hand, great example of how disconnected the deck feels. We have nothing proactive to do, or we have one proactive thing to do, but the proactive thing to do generates no advantage for us. So now we have a card draw engine that is like we have a 5 mana card draw engine that doesn't synergize with our commander. We have a good removal spell. We have lands, and then we have a synergy engine that matters. But if these mattered too, oh my god, what a great hand! Oh my god, what a great hand! I don't think this works, but like I'm gonna make something up on the fly. If Snowgrave said if this targets a tapped creature, it has split second, we're closer. Um, but this hand also feels like we do very little early on, which is typical of control decks, but when we get to the thing we want to do, it is not big and it is not closely related to what we want our commander to do. Like we see Verity Circle again, we have a lot of interaction, we have some ramp, and then we just have like we have this guy, the Death Touch Lifelinker, that makes people lose life, do villainous choices, but who just doesn't give a fuck about anything on our commander's text box. And so the only way to set up some type of like cute synergy interactions is we swing we swing Noel and we like people need to block them, which they probably won't because I think Noel's God, how do I leave this accursed playtester? Okay. Because she's like a 2/4. And we were gonna make her a 3/5, I think, because we had Utter End or what we had something that like does exile. But she's not gonna be big enough to be super threatening, so people are just not gonna block her. And then we don't get the thing we want. And so I think final opinion, many of these custom cards are very, very cute. I think this is a start from scratch situation as it comes to a precon. It can definitely play precon levels of Magic, but I think the pain points are like it has strengths that you don't want a precon to have, and it has weaknesses in the areas that you want a precon to be really satisfying. You want a precon to be really satisfying in the situation of I've been able to stick, 2 to 3 permanents that synergize with each other, and now I have like 1 to 4 like cute synergistic game actions to take every turn that might draw me cards, get me like more creatures, get me more counters, and we just have kind of like windmill is an aggressive term, but like Temu, Wish.com windmill slams over and over and over, which is really not where we want to be on a precon. So I wish you the very best of luck, and I do hope this helps.